So I've stopped wearing Adidas, I've stopped wearing Nike, and in fact I've stopped wearing every other type of shoe in favor of these. And now I will explain to you exactly why. So exactly what is a barefoot shoe? Well, there's three things that really categorize a barefoot shoe. A wide toe box, and also a zero drop, which basically means the thickness here in the ball of the foot and the thickness here of the sole is exactly the same, so it's in alignment rather than being like this. The last thing the barefoot shoe is it's very, very flexible, so there's a lot of flexibility here in the sole. What a barefoot shoe is not is a wide toe box without the zero drop and without the flexibility. It's also not a shoe that's got a zero drop, a lot of flexibility, but yet does not have the wide toe box. So it must have all three of those things. And if that's the case, you are looking at a barefoot shoe. So the number one benefit, of course, that wide toe box. Why is that a good thing? Well, when our feet sit in a shoe, what we do want is our feet effectively being on the floor without being compressed. The wide toe box, of course, means that the bones in the foot will sit in alignment in the position that they're actually wanting to, as opposed to being compressed in with the shoe. So the foot is a certain shape, and when you stand on the floor, look down at your foot, you will see that your bones are in a relatively straight line, hopefully, and there's a bit of space there that your foot spreads. It should sit in the shoe and hold its position. It should not be like this, which is totally compressed, because that is going to compress your toes in like this. The reason why you would not want this is because it can lead on to things like a bunion. A bunion is where the first MTP joint, the big toe joint, is being pushed inwards, and over time you get that build-up of bony growth through the area, you get a restriction, and the big toe joint can actually move itself in like this. And you see it on some people, they get a big corner there on the inside of their foot. Now, you might not think that's such an obvious problem for you. You might not think that your shoes are doing that to your foot, but if you stand with your foot in your shoe and then pull your big toe away like this, you'll feel it against the side of your shoe. And of course, if it's doing that, it is compressing things in. Even take your shoe off and stand on top of your shoe and, do you see your feet either side of your shoe? If you do, of course, it means that when you've got your shoes on, your shoe is compressing in and compressing your toes. So a zero drop is, as I say, the thickness of the heel and the thickness of the ball of the foot are exactly the same, which means that your foot will sit flat, as opposed to a shoe that has a big heel that does this, and that, of course, raises your heel above the ball of the foot. And the problem with that is that you will then be shortening off your Achilles tendon, your gastrocnemius, and your soleus. So rather than your foot being like this, all in alignment, it lifts up through there, and as you can see, it's going to shorten your heel. So to make that zero drop more obvious to you, it looks just like this. So this is a zero drop shoe. When I'm stood in it, you can see that this is going to be flat, and as a result, the Achilles, the gastrocnemius, and the soleus are all at the tension that they're designed to be, which is, of course, a benefit. This shoe here has a heel. It's got a big drop. It's got a big heel here and a small ball of the foot. When I put my foot into this one, what it will do is it will raise the heel an inch or two maybe from the ball of the foot. And as a result, I've got a raised heel, which you will see will shorten my Achilles, shorten the gastrocnemius, shorten the soleus. And the downside of that, of course, is that the longer something is shortened for, the more it will tighten up over time. You will end up with a tight calf, tight soleus, tight gastrocnemius, tight Achilles, and then of course you open yourself up to Achilles tendinopathy, you open yourself up to calf strains. That is not what you want. So the third benefit, of course, is that you've got a very, very flexible sole. So we've run through the zero drop, we've run through the wide toe box. The flexible sole, it provides the benefit of allowing your foot to interact with the floor the way that it was anatomically designed to do. You've got many different bones, ligaments, tendons, and muscles in the foot, and they all go onto the floor and they interact with the floor in a very specific way, moving and flexing. And of course, if you've got a big, thick, bulky sole, your foot cannot do that. If you've got a very flexible sole like this one on the barefoot shoe, your foot will be able to interact with the floor the way it was always meant to and always designed to, which has benefits of the foot, but also benefits going up through the leg as well. So as I've mentioned, there's plenty of tiny little bones, joints, ligaments in the foot that do want to be moving nice and freely. One really important one is the first MTP. It's the big toe joint. And if you're tight through here, it can affect your knee and give you knee pain. I'll explain how that works now. Well, basically the big toe joint, it needs to be flexing like this. So as you're walking, you're rolling off the top of the foot and flexing or extending the big toe joint. If you have a restrictive sole where you can't extend properly, what you'll find is that it gets tighter and tighter. And the problem there, of course, is that it stops being able to extend fully. And that restriction and extension means that as you're walking, rather than rolling off the top of the foot, you externally rotate your foot and roll off the inside of the foot. You'll get little calluses down through the inside of the foot here. That's how you know you may be doing this. And that external rotation means that your leg externally rotates, but of course your knee still has to track in a straight line. So what you're getting is a torsion through your knee, which can start creating knee problems and knee pain. So another benefit of having this very, very flexible sole is that big toe joint can extend fully, and that is massively important for the health of the foot and the health up through the leg. So we've established that there are definitely benefits to having barefoot shoes and using barefoot shoes. When would you not want to use a barefoot shoe, or when should you not? Well, basically, if you're running on roads, which most people do, then I think that you should stick with a running shoe. Many people do run in barefoot shoes. I think, and I'm an osteopath, I've seen plenty of people with back pain, knee pain, hip pain, foot pain, and I think that people should be running in shoes that are padded and shoes that are stable. So basically a running shoe is going to have a higher heel often than the forefoot, and it will also be very, very padded through here. And if you're not running properly, and when I say running properly, most people should be landing forefoot. If you're landing on your heel, which most people do, then you do need a good amount of padding through here. The last thing you'd want to do is go running and land on your heel thousands of times in that run with zero padding at the heel, because it's going to impact and it's going to send shock up through the heel, up through the ankle, up through the knee, all the way into the hip. If you're running, especially on hard road, and especially if you're landing on your heel, I do think a good amount of padding is worth it. It's definitely going to feel a lot better. And in the long run, I do think you're going to get less injuries. Another few times when running in a shoe like this, an actual running shoe is going to be better than running in a barefoot shoe, is if, for example, if you stand on a stone and you land on your heel, it's really going to hurt if you're on a barefoot shoe. Of course, the amount of padding here means that you'll barely feel it. So outside of something that's quite extreme like running, I'd probably suggest that a barefoot shoe could be worn all other times of the day. In the gym, going to work, walking around, whatever you're doing, barefoot shoes outside of running specifically should be okay.